be downloading an attendance list, okay, that we get from this meeting. And we know that there are a lot of connectivity issues. There are other challenges right now. So this is just for record. So don't panic because I'm taking attendance or something. Uh, the recording will be made available to everyone when we get back. You can talk to us and we can explain things again to you. It's not an issue. But since we're starting with these regular, like last time also, I think we recorded the lecture. So the lectures will be recorded, and someone is already recording it, I think. And attendance will be taken. So the list of the people will also be taken, okay? Yeah, Shantanu, I think you can start.
Is the screen visible?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Just give me 1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you see it now?
No, not yet. I may not have very great internet, so.
एक minute. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good. So let's start with this. Okay. So I think Mamta has told you about the syllabus for this semester. Today we'll be covering the Indian Easements Act of 1882. So basically, what is an easement? So what we'll be doing is we'll be going through the act, the main sections of the act, okay, and we'll be talking about what they mean, okay. So first things first, why are we even learning this? Is a question. It's a very fair question. You know, why do architects need to learn about the Easements Act? It's because the easement is something which is connected to land, okay, and it's connected to property. So when we are given a certain piece of a site to work with, we need to be very much aware of all the liabilities that are there on the site, such as an easement. Or we need to be aware of what our rights are. You know, when we design things or when we are looking at things like drainage, or we're looking at things like light or air and things like that. So I'll come to it in detail when I go further. But the reason why we learn about the Easements Act is because it does affect a lot of our decisions. Okay. So what is an easement? An easement is a right which the owner or occupier of a certain land possesses for the beneficial enjoyment of that land, to do and continue to do something, or to prevent and continue to prevent something being done in or upon or in respect of certain other land not his own. Fine. So that's the legal definition which is there in that Easements Act. Now, in simple words, what does this mean? Simply put, it is a right that you have over someone else's land, enjoy your own land. Okay. What do we mean by that? So, if you look at this example over here, now let us say there are two land parcels. There is a parcel B and there is a parcel A. Okay. Uh, Now let us say that the parcel B is road facing. It's got access from a road, and the only way that you can access land A, that is the parcel A, is through the parcel B. Okay. Now there is only one way that you can do that. If parcel B allows you to enter into his land and then go to your land, the Easement Act makes it compulsory for them to do so. And the Easement Act also makes it possible for the owner of dominant of that parcel A to access their land through parcel B. Now that is called as the right of way in this particular case. So you will also notice two more words written here, that is dominant and servient. So what do they mean? Basically, a dominant heritage is the one which enjoys the easement, and servient heritage is the one that is giving the easement. That's pretty much the meaning of it. Now, this is a very, very obvious example of what we mean. That now, how did this happen? How does this take place? Say, for example, this person who owns the lot B used to own this entire piece of land, which is consisted of plot A and plot B. And he decides that he wants to keep this road facing plot over here for himself and sell this piece of land, plot A, over here. Now, if he does that, he has to allow this person from lot A to pass through his land in order to reach that plot. Okay. Or maybe in another case, this plot might be owned by one person who then dies, and then that plot gets divided into two parts. Maybe his brothers or maybe his sons or children, I should say. In that case, the son or the child or whoever it is who inherits the plot which is in the front facing, which is facing the road, has to give access to the plot which is not facing the road. Okay, which is the plot which is behind. So that is, in a very simple way, the meaning of this. Now, of course, the owner of this lot doesn't have to build the road for the person to, kind of access this plot. That is not in the law. But they cannot stop this person from building a road or making at least something that will allow them to like drive a car or something into their plot. Like they cannot build a wall here or in a wall or something that, or build a house exactly in the middle of the right of way. That would be in violation of easement and discontinuous. It can be apparent or non-apparent. Now, what do these things mean? Again, the definition is there on the screen. A continuous easement is one whose enjoyment is or may be continual without the act of man. A discontinuous easement is one that needs the act of man for its enjoyment. Example. Say now these are two plots. One is at the upper end of a slope, one is at the lower end of a slope. Now, the drainage from the upper plot is usually goes down the slope into the other person's into the other person's plot, and there is a drain pipe there, and then it drains out from that plot. Now, what is happening in this particular case is that the owner of this granny flat, so-called, is the dominant heritage. Okay, the reason being that they have the right to allow that water from their plot to flow into the plot of the next person over here, the back neighbor, this person over here, and ask them to connect their drainage into this particular drain pipe or this pipe connection. So this is what is called as an apparent easement. Apparent easement, why? Because if somebody comes in and they kind of excavate, they can find that pipe. So that pipe is something which is a very real physical thing which can be seen. So when it's seen, it's apparent. But on the other hand, let us say that I build a house and I have a window facing out towards the east, and that is probably my only window. And somebody builds a house that is so close to my house, although within their plot, that the light no longer comes into my house. Now that is what is called as a non-apparent easement, because there is nothing physical there which is allowing the light to come inside. Okay, the light is going to come inside irrespective of whether I am there or not. Okay, so it is also a continuous easement. A human action for it to take place, whereas in the case of light, like I said, it doesn't need to have that human action. Okay. So what is easement compared to other concepts? So easement is a right that is restricted only to use and not to possession. Now, like I said, if this person who owns the lot A gets the access to this road, that gets access to that plot through this particular right of way, that does not mean that they own that piece of land. Okay, if Lord B decides to sell this piece of land, they are very much in their right to do so. Lot A cannot build anything on that piece of land, or they cannot sell that piece of land. Okay, so that is not possession, it's simply use, and use for only a very limited purpose, that is just for access, nothing else. Okay, unlike lease or leave, now this is very, very important. An easement is appurtenant to a piece of land, not to a person, and will hence continue to be associated with the land even if the ownership of the land is transferred. So this person, Lot B, decides to sell his plot to someone else. In that particular case, it does not mean that the person who owns Lot A loses the easement right. That right is connected to the land, not to the owner of the Lot B. So even if the owner of Lot B changes, the easement right remains the same. It does not change. Okay, so we are talking about some essential features of easements. It is an incorporeal right, a right to the use and enjoyment of land and not to land itself. So again, it doesn't incorporeal means something that doesn't give you any physical thing to own. It's simply a right. It's an abstract concept. Okay, that the land is there for you to use for one particular purpose. It is imposed upon corporeal property only and only if there is something solid like land or say a well, something like that. Only that can be used as an easement, nothing else. It requires for its constitution two distinct entities: the dominant heritage which enjoys the right and the servient heritage which submits to it. Now, this might seem like a very silly thing to say, because obviously if there are two people, then you need two people to kind of get this thing working. Okay, but what happens is, let us say, for example, again I'm going back to the same example of the plots, the Lot A and Lot B. Let us say that the person who owns Lot A tomorrow decides to buy this Lot B, or let us say that they decided, okay, I'm going to rent that Lot B for a particular period of time. In that case, since the Lot B is also now in the possession of Lot A, they cannot say that the Lot A is still using the easement, because the Lot A and Lot B are now under the same owner. So they have to have two distinct owners, two distinct people who own the land. Only then can you claim to have an easement. Otherwise, the easement lapses. The easement goes away. Oops. Yeah. The easement should be for the beneficial enjoyment of the dominant heritage. The dominant heritage needs to show that I have to be able to use the land in order for the only then can they claim the easement. They can't claim it for anything else. Okay, they can't say that, okay, I want to go from here and things like that, or I need to take a shortcut from here, that's why I want to go. That does not work. Only and only if you cannot access the land without that easement, only then can I say that the easement is actually working, actually there. The easement should entitle the dominant owner to do or to continue to do something. Now, here's something which you have to pay attention to, or to prevent or to continue to prevent something in or upon in respect to the servient owner. So it tells us exactly what the law of easement gives you the right to do. Okay, so first is to what do we mean by that? Should entitle the dominant owner to do or continue to do something. So for example, if I am the dominant owner, that is the owner of Lot A in that example, I should be able to start accessing my plot from that road, or continue to access the plot from my road. The second part is, or to prevent or to continue to prevent something in or upon or in respect of the servient owner. My right to easement gives me the right to stop the owner of Lot A from, for example, building a wall that will stop me from entering into my own house or entering into my own lot. So again, if you go back to this example, if this person of owner of Lot B builds a house here, all right, that is also very much well within their own plot, but I can stop them from doing that because that violates my right of way, that violates my easement. So how do easements get created? That is there in chapter 2 of the Easements Act. So easements according to Indian law can get created by 4 means. The first is by grant. So I can make a deed, I can make a legal document, okay, and I can say that I am giving the person a right to use XYZ thing on my land in in some way or the other. That is called as an easement, and that can be done by grant. By prescription, it must be a certain right enjoyed by claimant independently of any agreement. So there is no agreement between the owner, between the dominant and the servient heritage, but the owner openly, peaceably, and continuously has been using it for 20 years. So I have to now talk about these 3 words in detail a bit. Now let us say that again, like I said, this lot A and lot B example again, if you look at it, the owner of lot A has been using that road to go to his house for 20 years, let us say. Okay. So he can say that although there is no rule, there is no grant by the owner of lot B to let that lot A owner use that piece of land, they can still say, okay, this is an easement that I am using. Now there is no agreement, but they have been openly using it. That means that the owner of land B is aware that the owner of land A is using that right of way to get to their plot. But just openly will not do. Even if it's openly, it has to be also be peaceable. That both the owners, lot A and lot B, have to be aware and agreeing that this particular thing is happening. Okay, you can't do it by force. You can't force the owner of lot B to say that, okay, you have to allow me to go from here to there. And the second is continuously. It cannot happen that I use the land for a couple of days, then I stop using it, then I again start using it. That is not possible. If it has been happening continuously for 20 years, then I can claim that an easement has been formed without, of course, the grant. I want to give you an example of this particular grant by prescription or easement by prescription. If you guys are aware of this of Andheri Station West, okay, there are 2 roads that are there. There is the road that is directly parallel to the station, and there is the SV road. Now between those 2 roads, there is a building. Now in that particular building, there is this sort of a lane which goes from, and that building has openings on both sides of the on both sides. That one is on the road facing the railway station, and one is on the SV road. Now what happens is a lot of people use that like a shortcut. Okay, they go from that station to the SV road. There's a bus stop there on the SV road, and they use that property of this person, of this building. The advantage for the owner is that because of that continuous flow of people, he has put shops on that frontage, so that those shops get the clientele for the people who are using that shortcut, and they pay the rent to the person. But the person does not want to create an easement by prescription. So what he does is that every 31st of December at 11:59 p.m. he closes the gates for exactly 2 minutes. Okay, so what happens is the gates get closed, so the use of this land, that right of way, is interrupted for 2 minutes every year. Okay, and so that 20 years time period does not get fulfilled, and therefore nobody can claim a right of way or nobody can claim an easement if tomorrow, let us say, this person decides to redevelop that building. So that is one of the ways in which you can use this rule or use this law. Okay. So the third is by custom. So it is acquired by virtue of local custom which bestows a certain right upon all landowners for a specific purpose. Now, this generally happens in rural areas. Okay, and nowadays it has started to become a bit more rare. But usually in the earlier days, when you had agricultural land holdings, and let us say that you owned a piece of land wherein say a stream that flowed through it, and other landowners had to reach that stream in order to get water for their farms. Now by custom, let us say that all these people are going to come through your land to acquire water at that particular stream. In that case, you cannot stop them. That is also an easement. So that is an easement by custom. Okay. Now again, when you say custom, it is also somewhat of a prescription. Okay, but Whereas a prescription generally is a very legal term, a custom is it's something that only comes up in terms of tradition. Okay. Uh, so, for example, if this person who owns that piece of land where the stream is flowing decides to sell the piece of land to somebody else, then the other landowners can still claim that by custom they are entitled to reach that stream and get water for their farms, and that easement has to be respected by the new owner as well. Okay. And the last one is by necessity. So by necessity is again this particular example of the piece of lot, the lot A and the lot B. Now, if lot B does not allow the owner of lot A to use that easement or use that particular right of way, in that particular case, the owner of lot A cannot use that lot at all. Okay. Now, one can obviously say, okay, why don't you go from the other side and things like that? But let us say, for the sake of argument, that this is the only way that through which this person can reach this lot. In that case, the owner of lot B is obligated by this rule or by this law to allow this person to take that easement. Or lot A can go to court and claim that by necessity they can create that easement. Okay. All right. Now, easements are not always permanent. It doesn't always mean that the easement will be something that is there for eternity. Okay. Easement may be permanent. All right. So let us say, for example, if a person by grant, the first example, if a person says that by grant I am allowing another person to use this land for eternity, then it's a easement which is permanent. But that person can also make an easement which is temporary. So for a term of years or some other limited period, say so many years or so many months, etc., subject to periodical interruption. Okay. So it can be an easement. For example, a person could say that now here's an example. Let us say that you have a piece of land and you dug a well in that piece of land. You could grant an easement to somebody else to come and use the water from that well, or draw water from the well, in which case the easement is dual now. One is access to the well and the other is drawing water from the well. Okay. But only in the summers, because in the, you can say that in the monsoons and winters there are other sources of water that can be used. So only in the summers, when there is only one source of water, this person can come and take the water from the well. That's an easement by grant with a periodical interruption. Or exercisable only at a certain place or at certain times or between certain hours. So you can also say that you can draw water from this particular well only between the hours of, say, morning 7 to evening 7. You can't come in at night to draw water from this well. That is very much a possibility. Okay. Or for a particular purpose. Very, very important. Again, taking the well example, I can say that a person who is making out that easement or giving that easement to another person says that the water should only be used for domestic purposes. Suppose this other person decides to open a factory and then says that, okay, I have an easement to use the water from this well, so I'm going to come in and use that water for my factory or for my industrial purposes. And then basically, because the needs are greater, they kind of just start using kind of start monopolizing the water from this well. That cannot happen. The moment they start using water for a purpose that is other than the purpose mentioned in the grant, that easement is lapsed. Or on condition that it shall commence or become void or voidable on the happening of a specified event or the performance or non-performance of a specified act. Again, taking the same example of the well, a person can write in that grant that the easement of drawing water from the well will only be until a point in time when the other person gets his own water supply, or happens are I'm sorry, something seems to be wrong here.
What happened?
I don't know. Suddenly the other screen went off. Just a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see this now?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you can say that the moment that the other person gets this particular water supply, then the easement shall end. That is a very much a possibility. Okay. Now, how does the easement end? So apart from the types of easement, when we talked about the duration of easements, there are other ways in which easements can actually end. So the first one is extinction by dissolution of right by of servient owner. Okay. So let us say that by grant I have given this particular easement to someone, and that owner no longer is no longer the owner of that land. In that case, the easement is dissolved. The easement becomes extinct. But if you look at this particular thing over here, which we talked about very early in the when you're talking about uh, where is the slide? Yeah. So here, if you see the second point, an easement is appurtenant to a piece of land, not to a person, and will hence continue to be associated with the land even if the ownership of the land is transferred. Now, that if you look at what is happening here, that might seem like a contradiction. That how can that happen? Oops. Yeah. So how can that happen if I say that the dissolution of right of servient owner will end the easement? But the answer to that is that we are talking about a servient owner here. Okay, we're not talking to the easement. The right to easement to the land still remains. So the new owner of that servient heritage can still claim that particular right. Secondly, if it is a easement which has been given by grant, then the grant can mention that this particular contract or this particular easement is only restricted to the use of this particular person. So if you see here how that the duration of the easement, the last one, when you talk about the performance of a specified act. So if I say that the moment the servient owner, oh sorry, the dominant owner sells this piece of land, the easement can be the easement can be the easement can lapse or the easement can end. So that is the meaning of this particular way in that heritage both don't want the easement anymore, so they kind of talk between themselves and they end the easement. So that is also possible. The third is the expiration of the time allowed for easement. So again, we talked about that in the previous slide. Abandonment or expressed intent to discontinue use of easement. Now this is very subjective. Okay, it does stand in the court of law, but it needs it needs a legal intervention to actually understand. So suppose, like I said, in the case of that well, or in the case of that well water, if the person who is using that well for their purposes, for their house or for their land, for their farm, they don't need your well anymore. That is can be termed as the extinction of easement. The merger of dominant and servient heritage. So, like I said before, if the owner of the dominant and servient heritage becomes one by in any way or form, then the easement becomes extinct. Then extinction by end of necessity. So when we said necessity, say now in this particular case, the access to the land, okay, let us say that there is another piece of another road that gets built over here behind the lot A, and lot A doesn't need this road anymore to, yeah, so say the road gets built here somewhere behind the dominant parcel A, and the dominant parcel A doesn't need this road anymore to access their land, then this person, this servient person can say that, okay, now you can use that other road and take back this right of way. Or maybe let us say this dominant parcel A decides to buy another piece of land which is joined to the road as well as their own land parcel. Then that servient heritage can say that the easement has become extinct and therefore take back this right of way. And extinction by destruction of subject. Okay. Now this is also very, very important. When I gave the well example, let us say that there is an earthquake and the well ceases to exist. Okay, the well becomes filled in, it collapses and it doesn't exist anymore. In that case, the easement which is connected to the well also ends. Okay, the owner of the well is under no obligation to repair the well or to dig up the well or anything like that. If the well is gone, the easement is gone. It's over. Okay. Now, apart from extinction, the easement can also be suspended. Okay, it can be suspended for example, when the dominant owner becomes entitled to possession of the servient heritage for a limited time. So let us say that this person who owned lot A decides to lease lot B for a particular time. Then for as long as the lot B is being rented or leased by the owner of lot A, the easement is considered to be suspended, but the easement can come back. So if the easement, so in this particular case, if the owner of this lot B, sorry, the owner of lot A who was renting the lot B for a particular period of time decides to stop renting that plot B, then the easement comes back. Or let us say this person who owned the well restores the well or digs the well again, with 20 years pass between the well collapsing and it being built up again, then the easement does not work anymore. Okay. All right. I think this.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many of you are actually have understood what I just talked about for this entire period of time? Okay.
Virat Joshi has understood.
Okay. How do you guys have any doubts?
Yeah, Shantanu.
Yeah.
So hi, this is Kashish here. So in the beginning, so like when we have the easement act going on, so like so that particular part of the land, who does it belong to then, and like whom does it come under, and then who maintains it, basically. So will it be like the recipient or the servient? Hello.
Shantanu seems to be stuck, I think, thoda.
No, I think can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you can ask your question.
I think we should type the question.
Yeah, I think that will be
Should we
better. Yeah,
type?
if you type the question, it will be better.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this PPT here with you. Okay, so if you guys want it, you can just go through it.
So I just wanted to add a couple of things, Shantanu.
Yeah, please.
So can you go back to your presentation with the two houses, grandma's house and neighbor's house?
Yes. Just Yeah.
Yeah, that house, right?
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah. So now, Shantanu also spoke to you about the light issue, right? So that particular easement is also known as ancient light. Now, both of them are getting enough light and ventilation into their houses, right? But if you imagine, suppose that this house is demolished and they want to construct a tall building over here, and that's going to be blocking the light coming to this neighbor, right? So he's going to object to that. If he's been enjoying it for a continuous period of 20 years, he's going to object to that because he has that right of easement. So how do you go about saving yourself from all this? Is the thing is that right at the beginning when you procure this plot and you envisage that something like this might happen a few years down the line because you're not really interested in developing it now, but you might be interested in doing that few years down the line. One thing that you can do is put up a sheet over here, a GI sheet here, right from the beginning, so that he's never got the 20-year period of enjoying that light from this direction, and then he can't avail of that easement. Okay, just an example I'm giving you. Another thing, if you visualize this as a slope, okay, if this is at a slope like this and this granny's flat is enjoying a very nice view of the lake or the sea there at the coast, and then this guy sort of redevelops or reconstructs and becomes a tall building, that granny's view is now blocked, okay, to that lovely lake or or the coast, then that again is going to be an issue. Now, sometimes these things are resolved by sort of getting into a contract or a deal, and there's something that you pay that person. You can just get into some kind of contract that way. But these are just a couple of more examples.
Yeah. Actually, to add to that example. Sorry. So to add to that example, there is this place in Mumbai called the Hanging Gardens. Okay, and the Hanging Gardens are there like at the top of Malabar Hill. Point of this garden is to get that view from the from this vantage point. And if you build the structure there, it will completely destroy that view. And so you have this kind of a funnel that leads from your Hanging Gardens down to down to the sea, where you cannot have high-rise buildings. So if you look at this map of Bombay, you will see this kind of a like this area which is actually opening out from that Hanging Garden to the sea, where there are no high rises except for the and high rises are there, but only like they create like a window from which you can see the ocean, or or the Arabian Sea rather, I should say. Okay, so this kind of a case has happened that Mamta mentioned when you talk about the view and everything. Okay, so you sent me your questions. Uh, what is the requirement of the servient is fulfilled, still he can choose to use this act. Okay, so now we have to talk about what the requirement is. Okay, so if the requirement is access, it can never be fulfilled, right? Access is continuously required. But let us say that, for example, if a person is using say a water source, okay, that is okay, yeah, if using a water source and that person gets his own water source, okay, then that person can no longer say that okay, I need the easement still. All right, when the easement becomes lapse. Okay, okay, does it answer your question, Pragya? I think so. Very good question. Shalaka asks, if the dominant heritage needs access through the servient heritage, who gets the responsibility of building a road considering A and B? Okay. the servient heritage has no responsibility of building a road or making it easy for the dominant heritage to use that right of way. Okay, if the dominant heritage wants to build a road, they have to build it themselves. If they want to maintain the road, they have to maintain it themselves. Okay, the only thing that the servient heritage cannot do is stop them from doing it. Okay, but if they say, okay, I want you to build a road, I want to build a property, no, nothing like that. Okay, the use of the easement is the only, like allowing the person to use the easement is the only responsibility that the dominant heritage has.
Yeah,
Okay.
so to add to that,
Yeah.
if the person who's using that pathway now wants to get materials, sort of construction materials into the site and try to get other stuff, and he wants to increase that width of the road, he is not going to be able to do that. Okay, so it's whatever that he's been using for 20 years is all that he's going to get to use. He can modify it to his advantage.
Okay. Next question is, to whom does the land belong to, which comes under the Easement Act? It belongs to the individual owners. Okay, like I said, it's not about ownership of land. It's only about a particular use of the land. Okay, and who takes responsibility for its maintenance? The dominant heritage. Okay, if you are using the land for access, it's up to you to build a road or not to build a road. All right. Okay. If there is a river that passes, Somil asks, if there is a river that passes through two plots, does the Easement Act prevent the owner of the upper plot from making a bund to make a perf? What a great question. Yes, it does prevent the owner of the upper plot from making a bund to make a reservoir. Okay, especially in the case of agricultural land. If the water is being used by all the plots that are there on that particular slope, then the owner of one plot cannot make a bund that stops the water from coming into the next plot. Now, generally, in case of in villages, there is a understanding between the different owners of plots, in which case they have these kind of time bound sort of these times when they can divert water into their plot, and then at the end of that time, so say suppose from night 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, that person has to open like close the water and then allow the water to come into their land. Then again they have to open it back out to allow the water to go into the remaining plots of land. But that is a different, that's like a personal you can say understanding between different owners. But the owner of one land cannot stop water from going into the land that is down the slope. That is because they, first of all, they don't own the water. That is one thing. And it also goes to second thing, something called as riparian rights. Riparian rights is when you talk about the ownership of water that is in a land. Okay. So just give me okay. So in case of, even in case of a well, okay. Let us say that I dig a well, an artesian well, which is like your regular well that you build, okay, and I use it for my household purposes. What I'm doing is I'm tapping into the aquifer that is below the ground, okay. I don't own that water. I only have the right to access the water. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so even another example is that there are houses that are connected or close to each other, and you want to get some sort of work done on your foundation and stuff. You have to make sure that you're doing it without the neighbor's foundation being affected. Okay, so whatever excavation you're taking care of, you have to make sure that shoring is provided and their basement is not affected, right? Uh, yeah, there was, I think, another example. This one. So now there is rainwater that's falling on one person's roof, which is getting into the other person's plot. And he has to now ensure that he provides something to protect that, not allow that to happen. And it's coming into his plot. He can't say, now I have an easement of right and I'm going to drain my roof water, rainwater into your plot. Okay. So there are a lot of ways of going about doing this.
Yeah. Okay. So Shreya asks. So Shreya is asking if in case of creation, In case of creation of easement through custom, does the custom need to be of a certain time period? No. See, if you're talking about custom, it's actually something that has already become. It's already something that has been happening for a very long time. Okay. See, there is a reason why they have something that we say by prescription and by custom, two different things. And the reason is that this act came way back in 1882. Okay, when the British were here, and when the British came here, they encountered a situation when there were already these easements sort of happening. Okay, between people, except they didn't call them easements, they called it like whatever else, they just called it custom, the hamara pushtani hak hai and all that stuff. So what they did was, a lot of the British laws are actually them simply taking existing Indian laws and kind of putting them in words, okay, and kind of making them like codified so that they can use them in their courts. So what they said, what happens is that I can claim by custom, that by custom, by for so many years this thing has been happening, so it will go on happening for from now onwards. But if you look at prescription, it's something that happens after this act has been passed. Okay, so yes, so it's custom creation by custom is sort of a creation by prescription. It's pretty similar terms. Okay, Shreya again asks, if the servant rents out the land, is the tenant liable to carry out the easement for the dominant neighbor? Okay, that is a good question. Okay, now that really depends on the nature of the easement. Okay, so if you look at this example, yeah, if you look at this extinction of easement can happen by dissolution of right of servient owner. So which means that if the servient owner no longer has the right over their own land, then the easement can get it might get completely extinct. Okay, but that again depends on the kind of easement we're talking about. If it's an easement of necessity, in that case it cannot get erased. Like I cannot say that, okay, now I have rented land to somebody else and that person is now not going to allow you to come into your own house. Okay, that is not how it will work. So see, this is the thing about the Easement Act is, because the easements are talking about something that is it's one person's right on another person's land. Things often get very messy. Okay, these things generally work themselves out in court. So say for example, if I'm talking about a situation wherein there is a water source, okay, and the water source is being used as through easement by grant by a dominant heritage, and the servient heritage decides to rent out the land to another person, then the person could very well actually say that the person who is renting can very well say that the servient heritage, because they have made the grant of this use of that water to you, but they no longer control the land, so they no longer have the right to give you that to give you that easement. Okay, so that can happen, that can very much happen. In case of, okay, Kashish asks, in case of the suspension of easement, what if the land coming under the Easement Act is the only way for residents access? Is the sufficient? Then it's not. See, then it won't get suspended at all. Okay. See, this is a particular this particular question of access. It comes under the easement by necessity. Okay, an easement by necessity. If you are going to be accessing the land continually, if you are like living there, then the suspension doesn't happen at all. Okay. Yes, if let us say for example you happen to buy a piece of land which is adjacent, which gives you access, then it might be suspended. So because you no longer need it, the necessity doesn't happen anymore. Okay, but let us say you now sold that other piece of land, then the easement, the suspension ends and the easement comes back. Okay, how wide is the right of way? Does it depend on FSI number of people living? The right of way is as narrow as you need it to be. Okay, let me explain. A standard road, okay, is decided by its length. If you look at the town planning, if you look at the National Building Code, or if you look at your MRTP Act, or if you look at your DCR also, okay, there are certain standard widths that are given in terms of the use of the road. So if the road is say 50 meters long, then it has to be say I think it's 25 meters long road is minimum 3 meters wide. 50 meters long is like something like that. There are different rules. So that is the thing. So you can so the person who is the servient heritage can say that okay, the road is only going to be about 10 meters long. So I am going to only leave this 3 meter space. So उसके अंदर तुमको जो करना है वो करो. This person can't say कि नहीं मेरे पास ऐसा बड़ा ट्रक है, मेरे को ट्रक लाने का है. That's your problem. Okay, that servient heritage will only give you the bare minimum that is necessary. So it doesn't depend on FSI or number of people living. It depends on the length. Yes, but there is one another aspect to it. Let us say there is not one but many different dominant heritages. Okay, so for example, let us say there is this entire line of houses that is inside, that is behind your plot, and so this is doubly loaded sort of road. Then yes, you have to give a much wider road for that. And again, those rules are there in your DCR, and they are there in the NBC. Okay. Okay, if Meher asked if the dominant heritage is surrounded by 4 possible servient heritages, for example, what are the conditions that make one servient heritage more vulnerable than the others? Okay. Okay, see, vulnerable ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. It's not like they are kind of encroaching upon you. But see, here's the thing. If there is one dominant heritage and they're surrounded by 5 different or 4 different servient heritages, that situation generally would not happen. Okay, I'll tell you why. Because see, if you're talking about access, for example, that let us say that there is this person who is owning this piece of land which is surrounded by other people. Okay, then only the person through whose land is the shortest route to the accessible road is the one that is going to give you the access, is the one that is going to give you the one that is going to give you this right of way. Okay, you're not entitled to like having a ring road around your plot. All right, so that is not a question of what will happen there. Okay, Vedvrat is asking, in case where a dominant heritage or dominant owner is the only one actively using the easement path, okay, and do not have place for parking, and servient owner is inactive, can a dominant owner utilize that path for other activities? No, that path is only for access. That path is not for using it for anything else like parking for short. See, here's the thing. Like people in our country are like so okay, chalta hai, kuch farak nahi padta, that kind of thing, that they might say also कि मैं यहाँ पे गाड़ी खड़ा किया तो क्या हो गया इतना and all that stuff. But no, the dominant heritage is the servant heritage is very well within their rights to stop you from parking your car for any period of time in that particular, of course within the reason. I mean, it's not like he can't say कि नहीं gate खोलने का भी wait नहीं करने का. No, that won't happen. But if you start to park your car like you're occupying the space for any other activity rather than passing through it, then it is not allowed for you. Okay. Now, of course, in the case of neighbors, things happen. People kind of do make negotiations between themselves, but legally, no, it's not. You don't have the right. As a follow-up to the earlier question, if the owner of the okay, Somil is asking, if the owner of the upper plot cannot stop the flow of water to the lower plots, then how do governments deal with the Easement Act in the construction of dams, where it drastically changes the flow of water downstream? Okay, I don't even know where to start answering this question. Okay, Somil.
Yeah, I know. Even I'm laughing.
No, it's a wonderful question, really.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
Okay, so because it goes beyond the idea of easement. Okay, this what you are talking about now is land acquisition. Okay, because you're talking about the government, there is a concept. I think have we done land acquisition? No, na, in the 4th year. I don't
No,
think
no,
so.
we have not done land acquisition in the 4th year. It's the next class after this.
So I'll just give you a very quick this thing. There is a certain concept called eminent domain. Okay, an eminent domain says that ultimately the owner of all land is the government. The government owns all land, and if they need it for a public purpose, then they can take it. Okay, and that goes for natural resources as well. If the government wants to say nationalize all the oil in the ground, they can do that. If they want to nationalize all the coal in the ground, they can do that. If they can use the water in the rivers for whatever purpose, they can do that. Okay, of course they have to show that it is for a public purpose. So when you say talk about a dam, the government has to make a case that the dam is there to serve xyz number of people. So say it's for irrigation purpose, or it's for what hydroelectricity which will serve so many people. Okay, and in that particular case they can say that all right, I'm going to stop build this dam over here, and that dam obviously will create a reservoir, and I can get these people who are living in that area to leave. Okay, and it's a very contentious issue. All right, I mean, if you look at the, for example, the Narmada dam, that's a huge problem right there. If you look at the problem of the हरियाणा में कौन सा बाकरा नंगल डैम, okay, हरियाणा में नहीं, हिमाचल में. Okay, that's another issue that thing has been going on for since Nehru's time. Okay, but the thing is, what has happened in those areas is that these people were supposed to get some remuneration for the land that went underwater. Okay, and also the people who lost their source of irrigation, but because of government and bureaucracy and stuff like that, it did not happen. So for a very long time, these people are still kind of fighting that. Okay, and a lot of people were actually a lot of families were destroyed because of this particular situation. All right. So yes, very good question, but it doesn't fall under easement because the government in this case is a very different entity than say a private landowner. Okay, because of eminent domain. We'll talk about that more in detail in the next lecture when we talk about land acquisition. Okay. Okay, Rashi asks, are there any kind of relaxations that are provided to the servient heritages, considering the area that is owned by him because he is in some way not able to utilize the land he owns to its maximum usage? Okay. So what you're saying is, yeah, I understand what you're saying. But when you talk about things like FSI calculation, then the area that is gone under easement is still calculated in that. Okay. So the owner, so the person of the servient heritage still has the
Benefit of that area.
of that land. Yes, still has benefit of that land. Now I know what you're going to ask next. That what if the land is very narrow plot? Okay, and if I give 10 meters or whatever 10 feet from the land, then nothing else is left. Okay. This is a very rare case of such a thing happening. Okay. But see now, how exactly would such a thing happen is a question. So you have to come back to the question of how exactly does this easement occur in such a case that the only access to a piece of land is through your land. It can only happen either if you sell the land that is behind and keep that land in front for your own use, in which case you would have to be careful to leave enough land that you can give the access, give the ease of access, or it could happen that you inherited that land. Okay, in either case, it's it's a very okay, now it's very rare that this would happen. Okay, that you give the easement to a plot that is behind you. So much easement is given that you can't use your own land, because then that actually that completely kind of negates the whole point of easement. All right. So I have not heard of any such thing happening ever, but yes, I mean, if it had happened, then probably the Serbian heritage could say that, okay, if I give away the land that is there for easement purposes, then I am left with not enough land to make any use of it. Okay, in which case, I mean, they could go to court and say, okay, I want to go, I want to, cite my hardship in, so the court can set aside this easement, which can happen. Okay. Rashmi is asking, taking an example of private housing society situated along Juhu Beach Road. Roads that connect a public road to the beach, jogging parks is shut for only the use of the residents. Does this come under easement where public access to a private property is concerned? Okay. So you're talking about accessing Juhu Beach. Yeah, perfect. When Warsaw Beach has the same problem. That there are these very narrow lanes that connect the main road to the beach, and they kind of go between these buildings. So it's not as if the beach is inaccessible. Okay, the beach does have access, so I can't necessarily say that I can't access the beach anymore. I can access it. I just have to go through to some other point from where to access the beach. But if the society decides to open that land to allow people to go to the beach, let us say, for example, then they might make the decision to let that thing happen by prescription or by grant. Okay, and they can say that, okay, we are just going to open these gates and allow people to go, and then 20 years later it becomes an easement by prescription. Or they can say, okay, we are going to write this grant and say to give it to the BMC, saying, okay, we are going to open this land out and allow them to go through, which, yes, definitely can happen. All right, so this does come under easement, but it comes under easement by prescription or by grant. But that is entirely up to the owner of the plot, that is the society. Can you give more examples of easement in the real world? Access to, this is all real world example only. Acha, okay, you want to talk about like actual examples of easement. Okay. There are so many examples, like so if you go around your own area, so to speak, you will find these situations wherein you have these large apartment complexes with these really narrow access roads, that open. There is a gate on the main road, and it kind of, there's just like this lane that goes inside, and then there is the building. So that is an example of an easement. Okay, the road that has been given to them becomes the right of way. Path of way, right of way hota hai wo, RIGST. Okay, so that right of way is given by actually, see, I'll tell you, most of these areas where previous agricultural plots have become these residential plots, they have these examples quite a lot. Okay, because of these very organic sort of plot placements where people didn't need roads before, but now they do need roads. In that case, this has happened quite a lot. So yes, there are a lot of examples of easements that take place. Is that all?
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the class in this online fashion. Shantanu, a lot more questions are coming up.
Other do
or did I see them earlier?
Yeah. I'm still getting a hang of this soft. I'll get to it 1 minute. Huh?
Yeah.
How do I? Okay. Let's first notice. Can access which is to be provided. Okay. Karina, can the access which is provided be taken from the setbacks left on the plot? Or after providing the access, there are other setbacks to be left? No, that is so. Yeah, so that is like entirely up to you. If you are simply see, like I said, you're not you are under no obligation.
Yeah, even I've lost actually this thing. Even I can't hear.
Sorry. Yes, I problem with my this thing. Okay, I'll come back to your. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. So Karina was asking, can the access which is to be provided be taken from setbacks left on the plot? Yes. I mean, like I said, now you don't have to do anything special or different in order to leave in order to give the easement or in order to give access. Okay. So yes, definitely one thing is there that if you leave a setback and say, okay, this is your access, then depending on the length of that setback, length of that access, you might be forced to give maybe more setback than is required. But you can do that, yes. If it's like just say a few short meters, then 3 meter setback that is left generally is more than enough for you to give access. Most people what they do is they don't do that. They leave the setback, then they build kind of a wall or something to provide better privacy for their plots, and then they just do whatever. So that's like up to you. But yes, you can in theory, yes, you can give the right of way through the setback. Okay, so Shreya is asking.
Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to add to that, Shantanu. So now that people are aware of this act and they can envisage what's going to happen if people are going to use that access way continuously for this uninterrupted period, and they might get into some kind of agreement of just selling that bit of the land to the neighbor, as in the case of plot A, plot B that we saw right in the beginning.
Yeah, it does happen. Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, what happens is that in many cases, these people if they see that the easement is going to have to be given, then they will simply add the cost of that piece of land, which is the right of way, into the
Right.
cost of the plot itself. Okay.
Right.
So that is the case.
Yeah, so
Alright.
Shreya's question.
Shreya is also asking. Shreya is asking, do easements occur between the government and private owners? Is easement only subjected to two private property owners? It is only subjected to private property owners. It can happen between a government and this one and your and a private owner. Okay, but what happens? See, when you say government, we are talking about different government agencies. Okay, so it might be owned by, say, the forest department, or it might be owned by MADA, or it might be owned by whatever, MMRD or BMC. Okay. So since we are talking about the question of eminent domain comes into it, so the idea of easement becomes a little bit messy in the case of government and private owners. Okay. See, the government, if let us say that a person does go to the okay, so let us say that you so let's say that you are the private owner or the owner of that lot A which is behind, and the lot B is now owned by the government in some way, shape, or form. Okay, and you claim easement. Now that is an easement by necessity. Okay, the government can't say, okay, I'm not going to allow you to go into this because eminent domain. But what can happen is, let us say that the government decides that, okay, I'm going to take this piece of land, I'm going to do this and this for some public purpose. Okay, that denying you access to your land or even taking over your land for some public purpose is happening, then it will come under the Acquisition Act. Okay, yeah, I mean, they can't. There is no rule or there is no justification for saying that that not allowing Shreya to go into her house is a public purpose. Okay, so that's why the government can't do that. But again, since we talk about this situation wherein this one, I think Somil asked that question about the water and the rivers being blocked. Then that is a different situation altogether. But it's a kind of easement that matters. So yes, it can happen between the government and the private owner. See, this is a very litigious issue. Okay, this will go to court and it kind of just, the lawyers can sit and talk about that. It does happen a lot. Okay. She is asking if the cost of the right of way is added to plot A, then can the owner of plot A build parking, shop, security? No. See, this is again, this is extremely. What happened? So if like I said, this what I just talked about, when the cost of that right of way is added to the cost of the plot, that is not an official thing. Okay, easements are not given for a consideration of money; they are a matter of right. Okay, so but obviously an owner of, so if you are the owner of plot B and you want to sell that plot A to somebody else, then obviously, and you know that you have to give the easement, then through very purely commercial considerations you would probably add that cost. It's not official, it's unofficial. Okay, because again, as an owner you are entitled to put whatever cost you want on your plot of land, so might as well add that 3-meter strip of land and say that. Okay, anyone else has any doubts? Yes, Vedar. Sorry, my mistake. Okay, okay.
Also, I think we should keep some questions for when we meet, so we can have a good discussion or debate.
Yeah. Have you?
I really don't want to end everything online.
Mamta?
Yeah.
Are they aware of the debate thing?
No, they're not aware. We need to share. This is the 5th year, so 5th years we're not really doing much of debate. We want to wrap up fast so that they can get onto their thesis. So
yeah. That would be a good idea.
Hmm.
Asha, do you guys have any any specific questions like regarding your thesis or anything like that?
Okay.
Okay, I guess not.
So I guess, I mean, they're still in the sort of research question stage, so
Yeah,
it'll
yeah,
take
yeah.
some time. Yeah.
No issues, no issues. You can ask anytime you want. All right.
Okay, so I think we can wrap up now. It's going to be 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So guys, share the recording with us also.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you and good to see you. Bye.
Yeah. So bye. Stay safe.
Bye. Bye.
हेलो मैंने सबको निकाल दिया
क्या टाइम पास कर रहा है तू भी You're
जो
always
लास्ट में बैठ जो लास्ट में 4 लोग थे ना उन लोगों को किक कर दिया ये उन लोगों को पता नहीं चलता इसमें कि किक किया हुआ है कि क्या सीन है
how can you kick somebody out?
shit it's recording but one second is it recording or it's not
Yeah, it is.
चलो बाइक फिर बस हो गई